So God's a refuge, a strength, a very present help in trouble. And again, that gives you the sense that God is right there and can help to walk you through it. He's a present help in trouble. It's not something that you have to wait days and days and days to get. You can find help immediately if we have the faith to look for it. Next one.
Psalms 103, verses 17 and 18. But the loving kindness of the Lord is from everlasting to everlasting on those who fear him, and his righteousness to children's children, to those who keep his covenant and remember his precepts to do them.
Okay, so it talks about the loving kindness of God, but it also talks about our responsibility to keep his precepts and to do them, to live a life that stands above the average life, so that we can show him our allegiance, and that is rewarded with his loving kindness. Next one. You like this one.
My favorite one.
Yep.
Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. All
right, so give us a comment, Jonathan. This is your favorite scripture. How does this fit into our discussion this morning?
Well, no matter how difficult the experience of loss may be, we just need to trust in the Lord and gain strength from him, and look for his direction to try to be a blessing and a help to others around us.
And it talks about him directing your path, and I think that's a very significant part of the scripture, because what that's saying is he's going to help you to understand the steps that you need to take. Mm-hmm. Grieving is not a static experience. It's an experience that we need to take steps through. And in order to do that, we need the promises. We need support. We need help. And like we'd mentioned, the Bible is full of these promises. How about the next one?
Isaiah 26, verse 3. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee.
Peace is the one thing that is most absent in our grief. We just, when you're in the process of a deep grieving, you just don't have peace. You don't have tranquility, because life has been turned inside out and upside down. Here's a promise that says if you stay your mind upon God, he can keep you in perfect peace. That, to me, that's one of the most profound promises, because that's the ingredient of life that grief takes away from us. Next one.
Isaiah 41, verse 10. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness.
Grief confuses us. It perplexes our whole life. And here in this promise it's saying, don't be dismayed. I am your God. I'll give you strength. I will help you. I'll hold you up with the right hand of my righteousness. I will help you see through the perplexity given time and given your faith. Next one.
John 14:27. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. And
of course, Jesus spoke these words the night before his crucifixion. And he is going on to an experience that is going to cause tremendous grief for his followers, tremendous sorrow. And what he's giving to them is he's ahead of time telling them that he's leaving this peace with them if they can only tap into it. So, Jonathan, the sense that you get from these promises is that the tools are there. You just have to go and open up the toolbox and start to use them.
That's for sure.
And one more before we change gears a little bit.
1 Corinthians 10, verse 13. There hath no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will, with the temptation, also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it.
And again, this is one of those promises that is very practical. First of all, he's saying the temptations and the difficulties and the trials and the awful experiences of our lives are common to everybody. We're not going to be different in that category. But God is faithful. He's not going to allow you to be tested above your capability. He'll always provide a way to deal with it. And again, Jonathan, if you're having a circumstance in your life where there is great grief and such a troubling spirit about you, that is a great promise. It gives you great peace to know that the Lord is going to give you a way to deal with it. You have to just stand firm on that.
Yes.
Folks, if you have a thought, it's 860-442-9956, 442-WXLM. We're talking about grief and the concept of making grief into good grief by learning the process and the steps to handle it. So, Jonathan, now let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk for the balance of the program on what to do to help with the grief of others. We've talked about, okay, how do you handle your own? What about when your friend or your neighbor or your parent or your child or somebody in your association, whatever the case may be, is going through grief? What can you do to help them?
Well, first and foremost, Rick, we need to have compassion.
Okay.
Sympathizing, and if that's not possible, we need to empathize with them.
See, sometimes you can't sympathize with somebody because you haven't had the same kind of experience. But we can always empathize. We can always enter into their experience by just looking and observing and trying to enter into the struggle that they're having. And having compassion, and Randall touched on this right at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
He touched on this because he talked about how Jesus had the ability to have compassion on the crowds even when Jesus himself was grieving deeply at the loss of John the Baptist. Let's look at just a couple of scriptures on this, Jonathan.
Matthew 9:36. Seeing the people, he felt compassion for them because they were distressed and dispirited like sheep without a shepherd.
Okay. He saw them, he had compassion because they were like sheep without a shepherd. Compassion is one of the key ingredients. I would probably say it is the key ingredient in order to be able to enter in and truly help someone in dealing with their grief, us being on the outside. And Fred, why don't we go into the break at this point? Folks, we're talking about grief and the practical application of saying, okay, it's there, it's happening, it's hurting my friend or my family member, what can I do to help?
This is Jonathan and Rick with Christian Questions on News Talk 104.7 WXLM. Stay tuned.